All right, hey there, this is Robyn, and today we are talking about what is a steel mace, how do you use it, and why would you consider adding it into your strength training and movement training protocols. All right, so first things first, this is a steel mace. We have the globe on the top, which is weighted, and then we have this steel handle that runs all the way down. This is a 7-pound steel mace, which is a great weight to start with if you've never heard of it or you want to get started and try out some of the movements that you see. They also make them in 5-pound weight, so that is the smallest you can get. If you have any shoulder injuries, you could start there, though the 7-pound is nice. Once you get up in weight, the handle becomes much longer. So when you're learning things like 360 swings, it's a little bit harder with the longer handle there. So 7-pound is a nice way to start. This is actually the modern rendition of an ancient tool. Back in India, they have something called the gada, which looks pretty much like this. And you can see it in ancient pictures of different gods in the Hindu tradition holding their gada as a symbol of empowerment and strength. But then there also started to be more renditions of clubs, which are unevenly weighted tools that Indian wrestlers would use for their strength training, and then it started to gain popularity and started spreading throughout the world as just a beautiful way of training functional strength because of the nature of it being unevenly weighted, which, if you think about it, does really make sense for translating to everyday life activities. So thinking about conventional training methods, there's usually equal weight on both left and right sides. And when we think about everyday life, typically that does not equate. So usually in life, you know, our vacuum is more heavily weighted on one side than the other. Our grocery bags, one is heavier than the other. When we are pulling the refrigerator open or a car door, more weight is on one side. So usually in daily life, we're operating with more weight on one side versus the other. So this training tool here is a really beautiful way of training unevenly to then start to even out both sides. So this is a great way of evening out compensation patterns. So things like if one shoulder is up super high, we can start to train it to come back down. If one shoulder is less mobile than the other, I've seen this work wonders in being able to even out people's shoulder mobility. And then it's also just an amazing tool to elicit flow state in, because there's lots of movements that require a ton of focus and circular strength training patterns, which can elicit more of a flow state as we train. I have found great joy in learning this strength training method in terms of upgrading my movement practice to something that's fun, to something that not only focuses on building up my endurance and strength, but also focuses on building up a skill, and a skill that, sure, might not translate to fighting as it once was back in history, but it does prepare me for things like working with big tools. I learn how to adjust my breathing patterns super well with this tool. And it's just overall a super fun way to get moving and find a strength training practice that doesn't feel boring and repetitive. So there's such a wide range of what you can do. So I'd like to demonstrate something super basic. What you can start to train with the steel mace is your rotator cuffs and the stability in your shoulders. So this is great for the shoulders. We can start by training this movement pattern, drawing these half circles forward and back to start to find weight on the rotator cuff. If you have any shoulder injuries, you can digress this movement even more to start to strengthen that over time. You can start to add on by learning things like the 360 swing, by learning things like a drop swing, and all different styles like that. But the list is infinite of all the different exercises you can do with this tool. And in terms of just finding a strength training method doesn't feel boring, this is my go-to, and it has been such a game changer in the way that I can discipline my movement training. So if you have any more questions about a steel mace, please leave a comment down below. I'm happy to answer them. I do private coaching, and I have courses online that you can start to take and learn more about functional movement and enjoying this empowering way of movement training in your life. The other beautiful thing is that you can take it anywhere. Top tip is that you can really bring it anywhere and train. All right, well, I hope that answered some of your questions, and until next time, I will see you soon.